Welcome to the webinar ITSM 2023, Lower Costs Without Sacrificing Value. My name is Eric Wallace with Argyle, and it's great to have everyone joining us today. I have a few administrative details to share with you, and then I'll turn things over to our panel. First, we'd like to thank Freshworks for their partnership with today's event. They've been wonderful partners to Argyle, and they're committed to providing you with valuable content and a great overall experience. Thank you again to Freshworks. We appreciate you joining us today. We welcome you to stay connected during today's event. For those of you who are active tweeters, please follow us on Twitter at Argyle Exec Forum, and be sure to follow Argyle on LinkedIn for special announcements. I also wanted to take a moment to touch on our content neutrality policy, which we've curated based on the feedback we've received over the years from our members. We've worked closely with our speaking faculty to ensure that you receive a set of balanced and neutral viewpoints during the session today, and we appreciate our member support of this policy. Finally, and most importantly, we want to hear from you, so please submit all questions that come in during today's event into the chat section of the interface. Following the discussion, we've set aside time for our speakers to weigh in on your questions. Now, without further delay, let's begin our presentation. Today, we're joined by Deepti Nagarajan, who is Senior Manager of Product Marketing at Freshworks, and Ricky Martin, who is Senior Manager, IT Service Management at Element Biosciences. We're pleased to have Deepti and Ricky with us today for our webinar. Deepti, over to you.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Rick, for your time to join us today. So we'll get started. I'm Deepti Nagarajan. I lead the Fresh Service Product Marketing team here at Freshworks. I have with me here Ricky Martin, who's a Senior Manager for IT at Element Biosciences. So without further delay, let's get started. So let me introduce you to Freshworks for those who don't know who we are. So Freshworks was founded in 2010, and we went for a global IPO in September 2021. As of financial year 2022, we have about $495 million plus revenue growth, 37% year-over-year growth. We have over 5,000 employees globally, and we support about 60,000 plus customers globally. And we're a multi-product company, so we've been recognized as a leader in 3 major peer reviews, recognized in 3 Magic Quadrants for Gartner. So we take care of the customer experience as well as the employee experience suite of products, and we've been rated pretty well across different analysts in this space. So that's Freshworks at a glance. So let me start with the state of tech spending in 2023, right? I was just looking at the calendar today and it's like, wow, it's already the first half of 2023. We're almost there. And we've all observed different things that are going on in the market. I think most of you are closely following everything that's going on. But then what's actually happening is when we looked at the Forrester Planning Guide for 2023, 60% expect to increase spending on personal and 62% expect to increase spending on external services. Although we see the macroeconomic tailwinds blowing in different directions, we observe that IT leaders like you are going to be continuing to increase your spending on areas where you would want to be spending, especially on people, as well as spending on services that are needed to provide services and support to your companies. These are some of the factors that are driving technology spend today. The first one is around employee experience. There's going to be continued spend on people and skills to provide the best employee experience to employees with a renewed focus on productivity. I mean, employees today expect consumer-grade experiences, right? Whatever they're seeing in the B2C world, they want to expect the same kind of services in the B2B world. So that's where, most of the spending is happening on employee experience. Digital experience solution, this is a no-brainer. All the companies here want to be providing a great customer experience to their customers. They're looking at multi-channel end user support, and they want to optimize their digital journeys and experiences that they provide to customers. So there's going to be continued spending on digital experience solution. The third one is AI and automation. I mean, if you're not talking about AI in a room of people, then probably you're in the wrong room. So please change your room because AI and automation is here to stay. There's going to be renewed focus on tools like intelligent agents to make experiences to be more human, but zero touch. I think there's so much that's happening on generative AI every day, like to catch up on the news that's happening on generative AI, you think like you need an intelligent assistant to help you out there too. So that's where things are going on AI and automation. And the last one is on security and administration. With so much of things that are happening around AI and other things, I think IT leaders are definitely looking to see how they can continue to protect their customer facing and revenue generating workloads with tight security and administration and controls in place so that the data that they have, right, be it the company data or the customer data, it's protected and secure. So these are the four areas in which we expect technology spending to happen in 2023. With that, I want to introduce you to Fresh Service and say how Fresh Service can help lower your total cost of ownership and increase your return on investment in such a scenario that we are in. I think most of you are having tight budgets and you're looking to see and optimize how you can spend those budgets. But with Fresh Service, what you get is a intuitive, intelligent, extensible, and a solution which can provide faster time to value. What we mean by intuitive is we have a beautiful user experience, which is consumer grade, that helps anybody to use the product. I mean, I was surprised myself when I did the first trial for Fresh Service. I'm like, this is so easy for anybody to use. So that's how it's intuitive. Believe me when I say this, because I'm a marketing person here, and I was able to use an IT tool. It's easy. The second one is it's intelligent. I think what we're doing right now is we are embedding AI into everything that we do. So we are making it more intelligent to help you provide the right service management and service operations management to your employees. It's extensible. We have enterprise scale integrations with most of the modern and latest marketplace apps, and it's all built on an open and secure platform. And the last thing is we provide fast time to value. So we help customers by focusing on realizing value at different times, so that your investments give you the returns that you intended to have when you invested with us with Fresh Service. So that's Fresh Service, which is the right sized ITSM solution for you. So with that, I would now like to invite Ricky here for a discussion on the impact Fresh Service has had in his company, because I think it's better we get to know from Ricky on what he did and how he did it, and take it forward from there. So Ricky, maybe if you can give a short introduction about your role in the organization and your company, it'll be a great start for us for this conversation.
Absolutely, and thanks for having me today. Really appreciate the time. So just a little bit about me. My name is Ricky Martin. I'm in San Diego, California. I oversee IT operations at Element Biosciences. So my title and what I'm overseeing are a little different, so a lot bigger scope. So what do I handle? That's IT support, infrastructure, networking, and security. And a little bit about Element Biosciences. Thanks for throwing our company name and logo up there. Always appreciate free publicity. So what are we? That's the question I get asked, and I can't even really explain it to my wife very well. I did about a C+ in chemistry and science in high school and college, so that's the extent of my understanding. But what we do, we are a DNA sequencing company. So we have about 500 users between full-timers and contractors, and that number can ebb and flow. And then just a little bit on our monthly ticket volume, we have about 1,000 tickets per month, and that's across multiple groups, not even including IT. Fresh Service is getting used by our facilities group, our HR group, our lab operations group, our safety operations group, as well as IT, which also includes our business apps group. So those are more cloud type apps to Salesforce, NetSuite, etc.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Ricky, for that introduction. Can you please provide a brief overview of your business environment? What are some of the key business challenges that you're trying to address through IT?
Absolutely. So yes, Element's in that weird teenager phase. So we're still a startup and we're trying to make it in the world. We have started selling products, so things are moving in that direction. but the company's also, I think, about 5.25 years old. So the people that have been here from the beginning definitely can struggle a little bit with getting a little more organized for IT type things. They're used to just doing it and then figuring out later if there's an issue. But what I'm coming from on the IT side is just keeping the business equipped with the technology in a secure manner, as secure as we can keep it. Also trying to stay agile. They're scientists. They'll think of something in the shower the night before, come in and want to get moving on it. So that can be a little tough to keep up with. I come from a much larger company background where I had not infinite resources, but much better resources. So it can be a little tough to keep track because then send an email, move on, let me know when you get that. And by the way, if it takes longer than a week, that's an eternity here because science doesn't wait for anyone. So that can be a little tough to keep up with, but we got to try to stay organized, which is something that Fresh Service has really helped with. The other new, more recent endeavor we've been trying to do is be more data driven in our decisions. So that's actually from our board of directors and my leadership, who actually I report up into finance, which finance definitely deals with numbers and data all day, has been very appreciative of what Fresh Service has to offer in just sending a simple dashboard. Here's some data on what we're doing this month, this week, however long I want to go back since we implemented Fresh Service. Just a fun example. We've had quite a surge with tickets this last 3 to 4 weeks, where we're averaging double the incoming tickets per day, which is pretty significant. A lot of different factors, but when people try to escalate and say, "Hey, something's taking longer than it should," I have data to show why it's taking long. I'm not just saying, "Oh, we're busy," because everyone's busy these days, so that doesn't really help. So it's kind of show me the data.
That's wonderful. And what are some of the channels do you use today for your team to support them with the services that you provide?
The channels.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the big one is email. So we just have a general email that if you email it, it'll then go into Fresh Service. It will at least create a ticket so we can track it. And that's the way it was before I got here, was just sending the emails. So that's probably, I'd say, a good portion of it. Then we also have the Fresh Service portal. So we went in and created a bunch of requests, which really helps get the information we need. Prime example, hey, I need Salesforce access. That's not a simple yes or no, here's access. There's giving you the ability to get into Salesforce, but then there's also what level of Salesforce access do you need? And, oh, by the way, we also have the sandbox version. So that's a pretty extensive question. So those are ones where we really need people to start going through the portal. Kind of behind, there's always the drive-bys, right? So we have people walk up, and we do at least, we've been pretty good about getting them to put tickets in after the fact if it is an emergency. The other fun one that we've been doing at Element is we have our take on the Apple Genius Bar. We call it the Gene Bar, so trying to have a little bit of fun with DNA. And right there, we actually, it's more of a 15 support thing. So it's just, hey, drop off your computer, and then we have a computer right there that's logged into the Fresh Service portal, and just, hey, while we're working on it, do you mind just putting a ticket in real quick for your issue, and we'll handle on the back end. So multiple different channels to be able to get to us.
Okay, that's great. And what was the ITSM tool or platform that was used at Element Biosciences prior to Fresh Service? Like, how are we doing things before?
I shudder to think of it. It was email and Excel spreadsheets.
Okay.
Yeah, just a little bit on the spreadsheets. That was the fun thing. Onboarding is the biggest pain on everyone's side, right? And Fresh Service has been absolutely helpful in organizing that. If you broke down our onboarding spreadsheet, it actually, I think, was about 30 tickets total.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, some go to HR, some go to IT, facilities, it's all the groups I mentioned that are using Fresh Service here at Element. So it gets a little tough to keep track of that one spreadsheet across all those groups.
Okay. And how long did it take for you to put Fresh Service in and implement it? Like, how was that whole journey of implementation? Because we hear a lot from our customers, right? There are different tools out there, which are like kind of having a plethora of features, but for you to implement, it's going to, like take ages. So we just want to know, like, how was your experience in implementing Fresh Service?
Yeah, I definitely could have done it probably in about a month.
Mm-hmm.
That's from initial purchase to going live for the company, and that was if I would have just done IT, and that was actually what started that process of all those groups I listed getting into Fresh Service. I'd be ready to go live after that first month, and then HR would come in, say that, hey, want to go, and it's like, okay, well, we don't need to rush this. Let's make sure we do it right, and then I get them set up. And so in grand scheme, I think it took about 3.5 months, but that was more just that, I was probably just trying to be a little overly accommodating to all the different groups that wanted to get in, just because I come from a very strict change management background. So I wanted to make sure we got all the moving around, because these groups are not people that deal with an IT service management solution. So when I'm trying to explain all this to them, it's I'm getting looked at like I have three heads for a little bit. So just wanted to make sure we had a good amount of time to work through that.
Okay, that's good to know. And then, what were your top reasons, right, when you are moving in to go ahead and implement Fresh Service? Like, what are some of the parameters that you had in mind that you were considering when you implemented? Because we have other IT leaders joining us here today. So, what would be your piece of advice to them?
Yeah, I mean, in the end, so just a little transparency. I won't name the name, but we'll just call them Snow. That was my extensive background previously for about 8 years. And when I interviewed to come to Element, my first item of business was going to be standing up a service management solution. And it's like, oh, I got it. We're going to do it. Really a big thing was cost. We're relying on fundraising. I think when I came in, we were in our Series C, and so money was tight, limited. At that point, we weren't actually selling product, so cost was big. Fresh Service is giving me all the things I need in a service management solution at probably about 20% the cost of the big one I mentioned previously. So that's big, and really just being right sized. My last company, it was a team of 3 working probably 60 hours a week just to keep up with all the changes to Snow. And here it's a lot less needed. I was able to do it. Yes, that was my primary function at the time, but now that we've got it set up, it's pretty easy to keep going, just because there are all these bells and whistles that we don't really need yet, and maybe at some point, but also Fresh Service almost weekly has new updates and features that go out. I see the little notification that there's a new product release, and I love going to read through it and see, and hey, maybe it's something that isn't going to help me immediately, but definitely for the future. So yeah.
That's awesome. That's music to my ears, Ricky. We put a lot of effort in writing those consolidated release notes so that we ship, capabilities that are most valuable to our customers month on month. And I'm so glad that you're up to date on all those things, and you're able to catch up and implement what's best for you at a particular point in time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the next question that I have for you, Rick, is around, what are the departments that are using Fresh Service today? And there's a lot that's going on in the service management industry where people are starting to talk about enterprise service management, right? That they want to extend service management beyond IT to other departments, right? Be it HR, facilities, legal, because employee services are always there around. It's just not limited to IT, right? So how do you envision, using it for other departments? What's your vision out there on what are the next 2 to 3 things that you would want to be doing, with Fresh Service at your company? If you can, share some vision that you have, that'll also be helpful for other IT leaders to think about, what they could be doing.
Absolutely. And yeah, it's we've kind of become the cool kids club at Element. So the groups I mentioned, we have IT, enterprise applications. We're using it very extensively, and that's just because we are an IT background. We're used to having a ticketing system. Facilities is another group, and they're using it in a decently limited fashion. Really, it's just they want to be able to track, when someone says, "Hey, this power outlet isn't working," or "Hey, there's a leak on the third floor," things like that. They've seen all of our requests, and it's like, "Hey, you can really build on this." And I kind of had to hold their hand through some of it, um, but they're not quite ready to get past that first tip of the iceberg. But I've been able to show them some things we're doing in IT. So, and I think it's also a little bit just a bandwidth thing, right? All of our support organizations tend to struggle to be able to keep up with the day to day. HR, that's another big one, and really for them, it's the main thing is just onboarding and offboarding. But same thing, we have our total rewards folks, so that's questions on benefits, salary. Of course, the end of the year when we're doing whatever our new benefit situation is, they get kind of hectic, and so they just love having a way to track everything. Same thing. They've emulated our model with an email or going to the portal and be able to add things. So that's been great. Uh, Lab operations, same thing. They've got kind of their niche few things they need that they just want to really track. Again, usually it's things like it's not just a simple yes or no. It's, hey, I want this, and then here's all the information I need, and if I don't get this, I can't really help you. So they've been able to really focus the information they need from the first piece. So that really helps that first ticket resolution on their side. And I know as a lab ops team, that's not a concern they have right now, but it's the right mind for their future endeavors. The safety team, again, just really trying to track what they're trying to do. Um, it's actually the same person that does lab ops also runs safety, so she's taken that same mindset into our safety. And then on the horizon, we've had a couple other groups that have also shown some interest. Finance is one, from as simple as company credit card application to other more extensive finance items. So that's something that we're probably going to target for next year at this point. And then you mentioned legal. So yeah, you must be listening to our conversations because I know they have like a Microsoft form on a contract management type solution. And they'd love to go buy a more official solution, but money's tight right now, so that hasn't come up. But so I've offered, I'm like, hey, if it's something you'd be interested in, we could do it over here. So not a whole lot of interest yet. I think they're going to see how the rest of the year goes, and if they're not able to get that more official contract management solution, then they might give me a call.
Okay, awesome. That's great to hear. Uh, and the next couple of minutes, I want to spend about what impact Fresh Service has had. So, do you have any quantifiable examples to share around like how you're benefiting Fresh Service is benefiting your business? Any analysis to support like have you had significant improvements in like your CSAT scores or anything that you want to call out here, Rick?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, like I said, our previous solution was very difficult. The big thing is just better tracking of our support needs. When emails can get lost, or again the one onboarding piece. I mean, that email would have to get forwarded to about 20 to 30 different people, and if you miss one, or some of them were sequential, so you had to go to this person before you go to this person, and just a lot of human error gets built into that. And then, and when I came to the company, I heard IT support was not very good. So while we didn't have an official survey at the time when I got here, we'll just say the perception based on feedback was very poor. Uh, but Fresh Service is able to really create better partnerships with the different groups. I'll give you just another example with the data driven. I had a senior VP put a ticket in about a conference room that wasn't working, and he was very polite about it, but then he made a comment. He's like, "Well, it hasn't been working for 2 or 3 weeks." And I was like, "Oh," and it was kind of in an odd spot of the building that not a lot of people go to. Uh, and I was like, "Oh," and I went and looked just to see if maybe we missed something. I was like, "Oh, I'm really sorry. We haven't gotten any requests on that room." And he's like, "Oh," he's like, "I know I've told at least 3 people to do it." So he's like, "Thanks for checking. I apologize for that." And then, we had the room up and running. I think there was a meeting, so within 30 minutes after that meeting, we had the room up and running again. So it was one of those, as once we find out, hey, we're good to go, and the fact that, it wasn't the previous method where, well, I'm going to assume someone missed an email somewhere. It's, I'm able to go check and see the data. It also just shows the efforts of our teams. I know the facilities folks have been doing the same thing, kind of like I've done, where it's like, hey, we're getting slammed, and here's how we're getting slammed based on the last couple months of data. So it's really been able to help tell a better picture, or paint a better picture of what's going on in our groups. Because, I don't know if it's like this anywhere else. It's been everywhere I go, where if the IT person's sitting at their desk, they're not working, even though they're probably doing 3 things at once. Let's see, just the other thing that's come up, being able to monitor my support team's workloads. I don't think I've ever seen it where an IT queue is 0. I just checked before this call. We're sitting at about 110 tickets in our support queue. We normally like it to be around 60 to 80, just knowing that some of those are like onboarding tickets, and those employees haven't been onboarded yet, so they're kind of waiting. So when they're feeling exasperated, and maybe it's just time for, whether it be more quick attaboys, or, I'm ordering my team Chick-fil-A for breakfast tomorrow, just as a big thank you for a recent surge in support closures. It's not just me blindly trying to guess or, work through that as, hey, we've been doing a really good job lately. So just I really want to say thank you and appreciate all your effort. Try to keep the morale up. And also just another thing that I had no intention when I implemented this, but it evolved, was just being able to fill other gaps. So again, we're a startup. There's a lot of functionalities and that I'm used to from other companies that we don't have here. An HRIS, Human Resources Information System, is one. The one we're using is very limited. It was built for this little piece of HR, and we're trying to make it do all this. I'm used to more of like a Workday solution where you do one thing and just everything's automated and it's amazing. We don't have that here, so we're just fresh service coming to that. So again, part of that my onboarding workflow is very intense. There's, depending on a lot of different inputs to that request, you could get one or many email tickets sent out, and it's things that I'm used to getting from like that Workday type solution, but our HR solution just doesn't have that. So it's been one really big thing now. I look forward to the day when we pull those out, and we can not rely on a solution that's not really built to do it. But it's actually been very helpful in some situations like that.
That's awesome. Thank you, Vicky, for sharing those. And how long did it take for you to, train your employees and your IT teams? How was that overall, training experience? Because getting somebody to use a new tool is always a challenge, right? I mean, change management is hard, and making your people use the tool is even harder. So, how was that for you at Element Biosciences?
Very easy. For the employees, I just did 3 1-hour Zoom sessions of here's just kind of going through general support requests. I also do a little blurb about it during new hire orientations. And yeah, the feedback was like, hey, this is actually really easy. And then being able to link it with the same support email we were using, that made it a lot less of a culture shock, where it's like, well, the email I've been using, it still works, so that's great, versus making some new email that might be a little more confusing or complex to them. For the IT support and really the other support groups I mentioned, I did, I think, an hour session with each of them, which for the IT folks, it's okay, yeah, this is pretty self-explanatory, got it. For the other groups, there was a few more questions and, a little more of a culture shock to them, but it was also the first time seeing it. But same thing, we launched and I get an occasional question or, maybe some type of workflow that they were thinking didn't quite pan out when you actually put the pen to paper. and then kind of the same thing, like I mentioned earlier, they kind of got a little more of a understanding of change management, right? So, I have the one person that pings me and says, "Hey, I need this change, and can you change it right now?" And it's like, well, no, Thursday's our upload day, so I need you to sign off. So put a little more structure around it, but all in all, very, very simple. And yeah, a couple 1-hour sessions, and even still today, my team specifically, it's like, hey, I see your dashboards and all that. I want to find this type of data, and sit down with them, and usually within 5-10 minutes we've got it built. Or hey, it'd be a lot easier if this type of ticket did this. And yeah, just these little tweaks are very simple. Again, versus my previous company where I got to go find one of those team of 3 that's already way overstretched and having to think about all these different things that it could impact.
Okay, cool. That's awesome to hear, because most times employees and your IT teams don't use something because it's just hard for them to use, right? So glad to know that with
Right.
3 hours of Zoom training, you were able to get them onboarded to a decision that you've taken in choosing Fresh Service. That's great to hear, Vicky. All right. That's pretty much it that I had. Anything else? Any piece of advice that you want to give for other IT leaders here on how to choose the right service management platform that they need as an IT leader and a practitioner? What would be your top 3 things for each one to consider when they are going to implement a service management tool?
Yeah, I mean, the first one, and probably the easiest, is just don't be afraid to give it a try. You mentioned when you all went public, and I think it was that next month was when I was trying to go look for other opportunities and saw an article. Hey, went public. Just filled out the online form, and just the partnership you receive from day one is just excellent. Other times when I fill out those forms, I might hear back in a week or 2, but I mean, I think it was within a day I heard, and I had my trial run going within a couple days, and it was off to the races. And just I know we're all about cost these days. Just think about that 20% of the cost for the functionality you really need. That's going to be very helpful. And just know that there's constantly new features. And also, just a note to the Freshworks team, I'll ask questions like, hey, can we do this? And it's like, well, that's a good point. We'll put that feature in. And, I know one of the things that I suggested way back recently was put in. So that was really helpful and makes things a little easier. So it's, we're building this together versus, like Microsoft, where you kind of got their whim when they make a change, and it's kind of like, well, deal with it. That's the way we're going to do it. So just really appreciative of the Freshworks team there. And yeah, just think about if you're having struggles getting it approved. Think about the other groups that could be in on it. The cost wasn't a big thing for us because I kind of was taking a much more expensive solution, so I was able to show some differences. But the other thing that made it a slam dunk decision was just, hey, I'm going to be able to help all these other groups as well. So I think, and I think the approval took all of 5 minutes once I had that chat with our senior VP of finance.
Okay, that's awesome. Cool. So that's all that I had for you, Vicky, here today. Thank you for joining us and sharing the success story of implementing Fresh Service at Element Biosciences. Eric, I think it's time for us to do a little bit of temperature check here and launch our polls to really know what our audience is thinking about some of the things around IT service management. So maybe if you can go ahead and push the first poll here, that'll help us.
That first poll is away, and the way to find the polls is on the right-hand side of your screen where it says chat. There is also an option for polls to fill in the polls. And so you should see those results coming in. And when we're through with polls, we can do a little Q&A with the audience.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So we have a question here from Michael. So do you offer push technology notifications which alert the customer of progress? Many systems do not have the capability or lack the discipline to have key points in the process to indicate that progress is being made. Um, Michael, can you please elaborate on, like which process that you're mentioning here? And also, is this question for Ricky on something specific that he did or generally for fresh service? If you can clarify that, that'll help us answer this better, Michael.
Well, while Michael is composing his response, why don't we take another question from the audience? And just as a reminder, audience members, you can still enter your questions, and we're going to review some of these that have been submitted. So while we're waiting on Michael, let's work on this one. Our employees complain constantly about our ITSM, and we're doing the best we can with limited resources. Do you have any advice for us? This might be a good one for Ricky to start with.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little tough without knowing the details about what they're complaining about. But I know I just come from an extensive customer service background, so I always try to put myself in their shoes and just try to make it as easy as possible. One of my rules is the rule of three, which you hear it everywhere you go. But it's just, if it takes more than 3 clicks and maybe a little bit of information, they're probably not going to do it. So I definitely try to keep it really quick and easy where I can. Again, that big onboarding ticket's a little tougher. And something that I've had to instill with the other groups that we've worked at Element Biosciences on getting into fresh service, just because they were trying to make these huge, long, extensive forms, and I just said, like, hey, I'll do it, but they're not going to fill that out because I wouldn't fill that out if I was them. So yeah, just trying to keep it simple where possible, but also if there's something that you need to get a little more in the weeds on, I think just always trying to help explain why, like, hey, we need this because, again, my example, the Salesforce request, it's like, hey, look, we're going to pester you with these questions in email, and it's going to take a lot longer versus, hey, if you just fill this out now, you've given all the people that need to help you the information they need. And it's going to get us, we're going to be able to help you out a lot faster if you go that route.
Thank you. So we have some additional information from Michael here. His original question was, do you offer push technology, notifications which alert the customer of progress? Many systems don't have the capability or lack the discipline to have key points in the process to indicate that progress is being made. And he also adds, this applies to all ITSM systems. Customers put in a request and they have no idea what their expected SLA and how far the process is in completion. Any thoughts on that one?
I can answer how we're doing it here if you'd like.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that would be very helpful.
So the answer is yes. You actually have quite a few different ways to communicate with your customers. Sometimes it's just as simple as when you go into your ticket, you can put it in an update. So it could be, again, request for something. Let's just say they want a monitor and we need to buy one because it's a special monitor we don't have. You can put in the notes, hey, we need to order. We've ordered from Amazon, just as an example. And that note can be private or public. Private would not be visible to the customer, but if it's a public note, an email then goes out to the requester with the exact piece that was put in the notes there. Or you can actually communicate directly with the customer in the ticket as well. The other piece is the portal that I mentioned. So the requesters can go to the Fresh Service portal and see the tickets they put in and the statuses. Now, you need to do a little bit of customization in the statuses there. So example, there's a sign, there's open, there's assigned, there's pending, and you can actually adjust what the customer sees based on those statuses. So you can actually put a lot of good information there. And that's something they can just go see. You could also make it where they can see who the tech is assigned the ticket. So yes, there's push, but there's also a lot of information you can provide in addition to that, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, just to add to that, Michael, yes, we do have a service catalog in place. So you can actually list the menu of services that you want to offer to your employees, and then your employees can choose the service that they need. if it's like they're requesting for a new laptop or they have a defect with an existing laptop, whatever that is, you can have a service catalog, like a shopping cart like experience for your employees, and they can go and choose those services that they need, and then automatically in the background, like once they provide the information, a ticket gets created in fresh service and gets routed to the team that's appropriately equipped to service that request, and then you can take it forward from there. So you can do all that, and as a requester, your employee can also track the whole status of how things are going on, right? So they can go ahead and track the status of where their ticket is. Like, okay, it's been assigned to the agent. An agent is working on the ticket. Are they waiting for other additional approvals? Like how Ricky mentioned, any notes that they add that could also be visible on the ticket to the requester as well, so that they are informed from time to time on what's happening in the background. And then they're just not going to be like panicking and pinging you, like when it's going to be done, right? So I think we have all those capabilities. In fact, when we design fresh service, we always think employee first or a requester first, right? So that we want to provide the best experience for them, so that they can focus on what's important to them and be more productive in their jobs and not worry about that one IT ticket that they have raised with the IT team. So that's how we handle it here at Fresh Service, Michael. Thanks for that question. Hope you can hit the trial and take a trial of Fresh Service and see where it goes for you.
Great, thank you. Let's continue. The next question is, what's the biggest mistake you've seen companies make in trying to improve their ITSM, and how do they get past it?
I think we should put this question out for Ricky here, because he's an IT leader implementing those, so he would have seen some hurdles that he faced.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'd have to say, and kind of like I was saying, even implementing here is trying to take on too much at the beginning. So kind of where I said I could have launched it in a month and then maybe done some at later releases. Would have liked to have done it that way, and just kind of like, okay, we're getting close. I'm going to probably do this next month, and then like, oh wait, we want to do this, and not necessarily boiling the ocean, but definitely just letting a lot of scope creep happen, which I knew was going to, just due to the ITSM maturity of some of the folks I was working with, but also I knew there was going to be kind of more flack on the back end if I didn't really draw it out a little bit. And it goes the same in my previous companies where, yeah, it's just, hey, we want to do this one little thing, and then, you go talk to the group, and then they come with their complete laundry list, and it's just, it's like, hey, it's just going to take infinitely longer, and if you're going to do like a true testing phase on everything, it's going to take months versus maybe taking a more agile approach. And it's like, okay, let's do this one piece, and then we'll list all the other stuff, and then kind of try to take things off of the backlog as we move through things.
Great, thank you. Before we wrap up, we should also deploy our second poll. And just as a reminder, those are in the polls tab on the chat window of your screen. So for our next question, sorry, I just lost my place. What advancements in ITSM do you see coming online over the next couple of years? Who wants to take the first swing of that?
I can take it. I think definitely AI and automation, like I had mentioned. In fact, at Fresh Service, we are looking to see how we can bring in generative AI capabilities into some of the capabilities that we are developing in the roadmap. If I take an example, if you've already deployed a virtual agent in your organization to deflect some of the commonly asked questions, and your employee is going in and they're asking for like, yo, how do I fix my issue with my VPN? And your virtual agent is throwing back with a knowledge-based self-help article that you've built out to help them go and take those steps and then fix the VPN issue. And if that article is like super long, like 10 pages long, like nobody's going to read and take action, right? Because it's going to be time consuming. So that's where we're like one use case where we're applying generative AI is response summarization. So generative AI is going to, go ahead and, summarize that response into actionable responses to an employee. So it's going to summarize those into like 3 big steps. Step 1, step 2, step 3, do 1, 2, 3, boom, so that the employee can read those and quickly take action, all in the employee's channel of communication or channel of communication of choice that the employee wants. So if they are integrating with the virtual agent on Slack, or if they're integrating with a virtual agent on Teams, that's where we are in building the AI capabilities in and applying generative AI into that. So that's one example of what we are doing. And then the other is always generating new solution articles is so hard, right? Because the IT teams are always focusing on handling a lot of tickets that are being thrown at them. So there also we are bringing in generative AI capabilities, which can quickly help in content generation, so new knowledge creation. So there also we are bringing in generative AI. If you've not watched our launch event that happened last week, I highly urge you to, maybe I'll put the link in chat here so that you can go and watch on what are the great things that we are doing with our Freddy AI, generative AI, and see how you can learn some of those things and see if you want to apply them. So I think AI and automation are key things to keep a watch out of, and then apply in your respective area of work.
So moving back to the service catalog question, there's a follow-up question that says, one of the biggest challenges is having an effective service catalog. How do you build, template, and integrate such a catalog?
Yeah, it's definitely tough to start from the ground up. But the thing I really liked when we started with Fresh Service was there's a lot of templates already out there of things to think about. The onboarding being a big one. Then also it's just everyone's environment's a little different, so you got to start building them a little bit. But then once you get that initial foundation, I mean, I think I maybe add 1 or 2 catalog items probably per quarter. So not necessarily a set it and forget it, because your business is actively evolving, and other companies it might be 1 or 2 a month. And really, that's something I challenge for my team, right? So it's, hey, if there's something people keep emailing because there's no request, or we kind of have a catch-all request that we use for generic hardware software, it's like, hey, if we get 5 or 6, 7 of those, we probably need to make an official request for it, just so that we have a better way to track those things. Because then I'm not looking for keywords when I'm trying to do a data report. I can just go look at that specific request.
Great, thank you. I think that's all the questions we have time for today. Thank you, Deepti and Ricky, for that insightful session. That concludes today's webinar, and I'd like to thank everyone in the audience for joining us today for this excellent virtual event. And thank you again to our partner, Freshworks, and enjoy the rest of your day.